Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Joffrey Noodle Legs here today with a quick little noodle leg film review of a movie I watched last night that I've not seen for a good few years now. I've seen it a couple of times before years ago. I used to own it on DVD, but I picked it up the other day when I was down at Bradford because I really wanted to see it again because I've not seen it for such a long time. And it's the horror revenge movie Dead Man's Shoes, a Shane Meadows film. This is a really cool film. Now I've seen it a couple of times before, and I found it quite a disturbing film, mostly because of the extreme violence. There is some extreme violence in there, but it's mostly because of the subject matter. And I'll give you a little synopsis sort of thing on the film. It's about two brothers, Richard and Anthony. Now, Anthony is like a sort of like sort of disabled in the sense of like it almost feels like he's got some sort of form of autism or something like similar to that, which is obviously makes him quite vulnerable. And Richard, his brother, he's a soldier away in the army. Now, when he's away, all these there's like a local sort of what's the word? They're not gangsters. They're wannabe gangsters, if you like. They're like stupid, petty little drug dealers and drug takers, and you know they do drugs and they abuse people and they're just horrible. They're sort of like the ones that sort of beat their girlfriends up and sort of like, you know, force themselves upon their women and just horrible to everyone around them. It's an English film based in Derbyshire. So it's got some really nice sort of scenery in it. Because obviously Derbyshire and Yorkshire are quite similar in looking. It's got sort of like some nice views and scenery in there. Anyway, this group of lowlifes sort of pick on Anthony while he's away. They make him take drugs. They force their girlfriends to have sex with him, and the poor lad doesn't know what's going on, and they just abuse him. The leader of them is just horrible. He sort of punches him and knocks him out, and all this sort of really abuse him, really horrible. Anyway, Richard returns, and this turns into a revenge movie. Now, and the revenges are very harsh, and Richard sort of kills them all one by one. Does the things they've done deserve to be killed? It's difficult to say. From like, because this is two brothers now. Like, as you know, I'm a dad. If anything that happened to my son, I would probably be the same as way Richard is, to be honest. And I think even killing him is not good enough for them. So yeah. So he gets his revenge on them, and he doesn't fear anything or anyone. He's like a proper soldier. He's not scared of anyone or anything, and he would quite happily face them face to face. Anyway, he sort of singles them out one by one, sort of stalks them all first, in all around the place, and sort of like be's nice and horrible, and in like a sort of switch just like that. One minute he's nice to them, next minute he's sort of like threatening them, and he's sort of like he manages to sneak in their houses and stuff like that when they're, you know, how he does it we don't know obviously. But he's some sort of soldier anyway, but he knows how to do all this sort of stuff. Anyway, and he sort of torments them. Like there's one point when he goes in one house and he's spray paints his hair and spray paints the other guy's jacket. In the other house, the leader, he's painting him up like a clown with like red lips and red cheeks and stuff while he was sleeping. He's concocted all their drugs. He took all their drugs and he's mixed them all together to make this horrendous sort of drug mix. and he puts it into their sort of kettle, and they drink tea, and then they're all off their heads for a while and stuff like that. And he really sort of torments them. He's sort of not just sort of like going there and killing them. He's tormenting them, torturing them. So it is quite horrific in places, but it's quite horrific to what they've done to his brother. You don't see too much graphic onto the brother, because you do get quite a lot of flashbacks on there where they will sort of like go to black and white when it flashes back to his brother, and you can see they're being mean to him and stuff. So you don't get like a real over sort of like graphic on it. Some of the killings that he does is quite graphic, and he sort of goes around wearing a gas mask, and because they're high, one of the guys thinks it's like an elephant, which is quite hysterical. So yeah. And it just tells the tale of revenge, of a brother love for his other brother, and just sort of like thinking, you know, it's a kind of, you know, I kind of think, yes, I'm glad that happened, but it was horrendous too. But there we are. So I've just given you a little synopsis and review of this. What I think the film is a really good film. It's an extremely disturbing film, but it's quite coarse in the language as well as like the violence. But that's the way it is, and I think a lot of Shane Meadows films. I don't really follow Shane Meadows. I couldn't tell you what other films he's made, to be honest. I know he's quite a popular English director. I'll see if it says anything on here. What else he's made? Made in England. Again, I've not seen that, but I know that's about sort of like the sort of football sort of hooliganism, and I think sort of like the sort of skinhead sort of culture in Britain, which was about in the sort of 70s and 80s and things like that. I'm thinking that's that. I've not seen it, so I couldn't tell you. But he's made movies like that. He makes quite raw films, and this is quite raw. The pluses of the film, it looks great. It's beautifully shot in a beautiful location, beautiful little villages, just like round here really, but in Derbyshire. And the acting's really cool. The actor that plays Michael's fantastic. He is quite scary, to be honest, just because he's got those sort of piercing eyes where you can just see he's not afraid of anything or anyone. And it's really quite well acted, and I quite enjoyed that. Really cool. The story's really good. I think it's a great story. The violence is not over the top. It's quite cool. I like that too. Negatives, I did find it a little bit short. I just think it could have been just a bit longer, just to sort of like make it feel more like a bit of a background story. I'd like to have seen Michael do more to these people, and a bit more of his planning, and a bit more of the sort of eerie sort of stalking that he does of them before he actually goes and finally kills them, sort of thing. I would have loved a bit more of that, because I found that sort of stuff quite eerie. So I'll put a couple of pictures up here of the film. So there's a couple of photographs in the film. I decided not to go with any clips on this one, just because I thought, well, I don't want all my reviews to be samey, if you know what I mean. Same sort of format. I like to mix things up a bit. So this time I just put a few photos in there. So I'm going to give this film a score now. I'm going to score this an awesome watch and give it an 8 out of 10. Really, really good film. It would have got more if it was a bit longer. I think if it would have been just a tad bit longer. The ending is good. There is a bit of a turn at the end, and I suppose that is actually a negative. I wasn't over keen on the very ending bit of the film. I just thought, no, that was silly. I don't understand that bit. You know, maybe I need to watch it again to try and understand the ending, but I didn't really just didn't get it. I just thought that kind of spoilt the film a little bit, and that's why it's got an 8 out of 10, to be honest. I forgot to mention that. So yeah, that's the only thing that was sort of like not particularly amazing about the film, was the ending. But apart from that, it's fantastic. 8 out of 10, Dead Man's Shoes. Have any of you guys seen it? If you have, let me down below what you thought of it. It is an English sort of drama horror. I class it as a horror movie because it's a slasher film pretty much. It's a revenge movie. He's going around getting revenge on these people that tormented his brother, and he's killing them, just like a slasher movie, right? So it's a horror film. But I enjoyed it. Really, really cool. Please check out some horror channels for me, guys, before my next video. Check out Horror Hands, The Horror Geek, Man v Film, Pizzlewell, I Am Ice Lord, RS Designs, Sarah of Horror. Amazing, amazing channels, guys. Please check them all out. Until next time, look after yourselves, look after one another, and I do hope I see you all soon.